Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome so much to the stream. Each and every one of you who are watching right now. For all of you watching right now, welcome to the stream. This is Jakob haQ Live, and today I'm gonna show you how I go about doing some stuff related to cyberpunk, and I'm also gonna talk to you about what cyberpunk is to me, because there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube with people making cyberpunk, and one of the things they're doing in particular is they're making cyberpunk that sounds exactly like the type of cyberpunk music that you get from the game Cyberpunk 2077. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's why I got into this. But I don't want to make stuff exactly like it, close to it, have my own take on it, you know, do stuff my way. And so that's what I'm going to go through today. So before we really get into anything, let's just prolong this little intro thing here for a little bit. What you're hearing in the background right now is something I'm working on. Sounds pretty nice, right? So right now, what I'm doing is I've already I've already made music, cyberpunk type music in Cubasis. I've already made it inside AUM, and this time I thought, okay, so since I can do it with whatever I want, whatever synth I want, then why not do it in another app I haven't made videos about in a while. So I've made a new project, and it's gonna become a new series, kind of like in the old days when I used to do these parts where I put out an entire core gadget series from beginning to end about drums, bass, lead, pads, and all of it. And this time it also is going to include vocals, because somehow I'm gonna be able, or somehow I'm gonna have to sing right into core gadget. And there are a few apps, and there are a few awesome apps in there, because some of them actually have some guitar distortions and things. So now I have to figure out a way of actually making this viable, me singing cyberpunk stuff into this thing. And when I'm done with this project, I'm hoping it's gonna become so well. I've even got a music video planned that I don't even know where or when I'm gonna be able to start filming it, but it's gonna become a real music video, not graphics based or anything like that. It's gonna be me recording actual stuff for a music video, and then that will become its own series in itself, explaining how to do that. So great things planned. Am I still low? Because the problem is that when I pull up my volume here, I just hear myself distorting all the time. I don't even know what it sounds like to you out there. So why don't you let me know how it sounds? I'm pulling up on the volume. Is that good? Does that work for everyone? I hope I'm not too low. So hello and welcome everyone. I see in the chat that the nice same old faces, and for those of you who don't type, I know that you're there, and thank you for coming. So we got Samuel, we got Audible Video, Jack, we got Dave, Dan Ramirez, Ryan is here, of course, Meerkat Music, let's see, Kalle Kempe, my dad, my mom, as usual. Hello and welcome everyone. And then we got Electronic Sounds Audio, also Dean is in here. So I'll just play a little bit more for you so you can hear what I'm working on. So, what I've got right now is basically a load of gadgets in here, and uh, all of the sounds you're hearing are, of course, from Gadget. And so, at the beginning here, right here, we've got two London gadgets, and one of them is basically the drum track that is producing the drums. Where is it? Where did you go? Oh, you're supposed to be here. Oh, never mind. It's right here. So this is the drum track, and then the first gadget is just something I use for my side chaining. So I've explained this before in my gadget series. There are videos of my gadget series still up, and if you want to know why I'm using the side chain or why I'm using a kick drum for side chaining, it's all explained in there. I should have probably linked to my series in the description, but I didn't. So basically, just one of the London gadgets is playing actual drums. The other one is muted, and I'm just using the signal from that for the sidechain compressor on the other channels, for instance, the bass channel. So the bass sound you're hearing is built from 4 Chicago gadgets. I'm going to play each of them for you so you can hear what it sounds like. I absolutely love the Chicago gadget, and it's made to be like a 303. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. And he opens it up and it doesn't show. Look at this thing. Huh? I mean, don't you just love the look of this thing? And what I like with it is that yeah, you can make it sound 303 like, but it's not. It's not, because there's so much more to it. It sounds very, very different. You can get a completely different sound out of it, and the way that it distorts stuff with the I almost said pipe because I'm translating rör in Swedish, which is what you say, rör distortion, pipe distortion, tube distortion. I'm trying to find tube distortion. Yeah, the tube distortion algorithm in here is really, really good and makes it scream in a special way. The gnaw in here is awesome. The bite control is just mwah. This gadget is it's a basic gadget. You don't pay for it. Like, you pay for gadget, right? But you get it in the basic lineup. You don't have to in a purchase or anything to get this one. It just sounds absolutely amazing. So 4 different ones, and I'm doing that to get a full sound for my cyberpunk feeling, cyberpunk kind of. Okay, so here's the deal. Cyberpunk bass, if you listen to music from Cyberpunk 2077, then what you can hear is a lot of Aeolian scales, a lot of minor scales, but most of it is Aeolian, and they keep the bass to 2 notes usually. If it's 3 or 4 notes, it's not doing much. You have to be very careful for it not. You can't make it play melodies, because if you do that, you start turning into synth wave territory. And you don't want that when you're doing cyberpunk. Now, my track, it's got a dark thing to it, and if I remove the supersaw sounds, the pad sounds, it becomes even darker with this bass, and so it's losing a bit of the darkness when I'm adding the pads in here, because they're a little bit too nice. Than I wanted them to be more menacing, but then again, I don't want it to be too dark. I don't want you to feel claustrophobic when you're listening to the track. So it should still feel open, but there should be a dark drive underneath it, driving everything just forward. Imagine a carriage or a train. That's what the drums and the bass are. They're the engine and all the wheels, and then you put all the stuff on it. So I still want the cart to feel open and inviting, but still dystopian-like. So I'll explain how I do that. But if we listen to one of the sounds here, this is basically just for me to get the low end of the bass. We'll just do this one. So basically, it's just there to do the low end, and I do it like this because I want control over the low end. I do not want the low end to overpower anything else, but I need there to be a constant bass in there, a constant sub. And so I'm filtering it and I'm saturating it. The saturator plugin inside Core Gadget, it's pretty good. It's not exactly what I want, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And so I'm putting it on everything. Everything in here has the saturator on it. Everything, just everything. And if we go to the next one, this one sounds very different. Now here's where I'm starting to build the character of the bass. And he starts playing it from the wrong... Oh, come on. And together with the bottom. And if I remove all of the effects I have here, that's what it sounds like without effects. So it's just here to make the part of the body that takes over right after the low end and starts going into the mid bass. Someone's asking if there's a saturator for the master. No, there aren't. You have two effects that you can get. One of them is in a purchase. So the master out has either a limiter or you have D-Max, and I haven't even purchased this plugin. I didn't even realize that. D-Max is it's basically a DOTEC maximizer, so it does a really good job. I know it does. I've used a plugin, a similar plugin to it before. It's a DOTEC, just ram it through the floor, through the roof kind of maximizer. So that's what it is, and I haven't needed it apparently because I don't own it. I wish there was a saturator, like a pure saturator for the output. That's something I'm gonna ask them for if they're still listening to me. Now the next part of the bass is this thing here, and then he plays it again from the wrong place. And if I remove effects, so you can still hear that I preserved the original character of it, but you can hear that it's starting to take over the top bass. And then at the end of it, I wanted something that would lift all of it up with an edge, and it's this one. And then he starts playing it again from the wrong place. And that creates a very, very full bass sound, and it sounds amazing. It now has delay on it, so there's some movement in the stereo field, which I don't want the bass part to do ever, move in the stereo field. The bass, the sub, should always be in mono, for me at least. Others might be doing it differently, but I want control over that bass. I think that Dean would probably just agree with me. Dean is a top-level producer, so if Dean agrees with me, I'm good. Come on, Dean, don't leave me hanging here, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Let me know I'm saying some good shit here, okay? How many instruments double the bass part? 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So one drum part, one drum part that is muted for the sidechain compression, and all of these basses have sidechain compression. But I've selected a bass drum that does not overpower bass too much, because I did not want my bass to start pumping too much. I just want it slightly ducked when the bass hits, but it's not supposed to have much of a tail. It's just supposed to be there to pop the beat every time. So we can have a listen to the drums. And then he plays it again from you hear? It's got a very short tail. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Dean, for confirming. You can clearly hear that there's more going on in the bass, because some of these basses, this one in particular, actually has its arpeggiator turned on, because I wanted it to play other notes whenever I'm doing a longer note inside this window here. So listen to it again, you'll hear it. Oh God, it does it again. You hear that? It plays a high note. There's no high note here, it's an arpeggiator. So right here I have a long note, and it's giving the arpeggiator time enough to play a little bit extra, and so I'm getting that high note. I didn't know if I wanted one there, so here's what happened. I want a movement in here. I was fiddling around with other types of effects, flangers and phasers, but then I accidentally turned on the arpeggiator in here, and this happened, so I kept it. Many times have I produced music, and this has just happened. You think it sounds kick-ass and thick? Yes? Thank you. I'm hoping so. Now, when it comes to all of these sounds, I make all of them from ground up. So I start with either a completely empty one, a preset, or from just a saw waveform or something like that, and then I tweak my stuff up. Tweak my stuff up. Next, we're going forward here, because what's important for CyberPunk is really is distortion. As you could hear, I was using Chicago because it has this saturator in there. Okay, it has this, not a saturator, but it's got this I almost said pipe distortion again. I meant, of course, to say tube distortion. So it's got a tube in there, and it saturates stuff very nicely. And then if we look in the effects slots, we can see saturator. In others, I'm using I'm also using the decimator, which is basically just a bit crusher and a frequency converter, because they do a really good job at that. The problem is, if you turn them down too low, you start going down from, it sounds good down to 12 bits, and then when you start going past 9 into like past 10 or 9 bits, when you put it down, a bit crusher, you start getting an effect that kind of sounds like you've got sound on all the time, and it can be really annoying. But in this case, I can't. I'm not sure. I think I've got, yeah, I'm down to 10 bits, so it's slightly before that happens. Try it out in a bit crusher yourself. You'll see that as soon as you go back beyond 10, usually stuff goes haywire. And if you don't have a gate or anything that will turn that down, it's gonna be there in the background. And if you don't want that, that's annoying. If you want that, I mean, just put bit crushers on everything. So a lot of distortion, a lot of saturation, exciters, things like that, just to make it edgy. And this is the reason to why I'm also breaking it up. I usually break up my bass into 2 at least. Top bass. Oh, I flicked you off. I'm sorry. Top bass and also bottom bass. What the hell, Jacob? What the fuck? What the hell? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to flick you off. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you forgive me. Now, with this one, here's a problem. When you go through the list of features, the list of effects inside Core Gadget, there is no distortion plugin. Like, I want a proper distortion plugin with a lot of effects in there. There isn't anyone. If you want distortion and stuff like that, you kind of have to choose plugins that have that built into them. Because as you know, if you're using Core Gadget, and if you don't know because you're not using Core Gadget, all of these plugins, all of these gadgets, they have built-in effects. So they have a nice list. And some of the stuff available in there is not available in the FX list, which I find a little bit weird. Sometimes I just want a really cool, really nice ensemble chorus, and I can't get that. Sometimes I want a nice distortion, and I can't get that. So I have to plan my stuff by the gadget that I'm using. And so if I want distortion, I'm always going to have to put that before every other plugin in the chain. And so now I have to rethink how I'm doing stuff, because usually I'll put distortion third in the chain or at the last bit, because I just, that's the way I want to do it. I'll even saturate stuff with reverb on it just to keep that in check. It's a very interesting way of doing stuff, and as soon as you saturate something, you also have to keep in mind that when you're saturating stuff, everything that is in the high frequency range is gonna get enhanced, and it can get very, very harsh and sharp. So you need to be careful with that, and sometimes you have to filter stuff off. Now, in Core Gadget, we're limited to 5 slots per channel too, so that also has to go into it. Now, and the other thing that is important is super saw waveforms. Super saw waveforms. You need that stuff to make cyberpunk, synthwave, anything like that. And my weapon of choice is Montpellier, which is basically the iMonopoly synthesizer. So if you purchase iMonopoly synthesizer, you can then install the Montpellier gadget inside Gadget, and it sounds massive. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, wait, do I still have something soloed? Oh, there we go. I've got something soloed. So if I just play this for you, I'll play this one. So here's, I use several different super saws to kind of get a full sound. And I'm always splitting up stuff in frequencies. Low, high, or low, mid, high, mid, and then high. I'm always splitting stuff up because when you put effect on things, they behave differently. And I don't want a certain type of distortion or saturation on a bass, whereas on the other hand, I would want that on something in the higher frequency. So even though I could play this entire line that I'm doing here with just one Montpellier, I'm still splitting it up because I want control over all of my gadgets and all of the sounds. Do we have any guitar players here? I'm not a guitar I mean, I play guitar occasionally, and I've been doing it occasionally. So there's my answer. I'm not good at it. That's why I sound so frustrated when I answer it, because after playing it off and on for 2 decades, I'm really shit. I'm really shit because I never practice, because I think practice is boring. Depending on what I do, because I can sit and analyze plugins for hours and hours. I mean, and when you do that, you learn stuff. If you have any questions, fire them off. I'll just I'll try to answer you. I'm keeping tabs on the chat too. So let me just play this for you. Let me see here. There. And let me play the other line for you. That's the dark one, and then I have one that takes over the top layer. Listen closely to it. There is something weird going on with the sound. It sounds like a woman doing, oh, like some kind of tone in there. And it's kind of sour and off. And this is me trying to get into the cyberpunk thing. Adding dissonance, adding something wrong. How did I do that? There's so many ways of doing it. You can introduce a swaying LFO, with a swaying pitch of an oscillator with an LFO. You could do that, right? And of course I'm doing that too. You can do glide stuff, so that stuff glides in between, so nothing ever completely stays in tune. You can saturate stuff. In this case, I chose a reverb that Korg put in here that is so good, because this reverb has a lot of character, very specific character. Now, there's one thing I'm not too fond of in Korg's apps, and that's the metallic sounding reverbs. I wish there were more reverb types to choose in here, because all of the reverb sounds a bit metallic to me, and I wish I could filter that off. It's good that they have character. It's really good. They do have character, true character, because they sound metallic. That's the character, right? But in some cases, when you want to do big swashes of sounds and big hits that just flutters out into nothingness and disappears, you don't want any overtones in there, but you're gonna get that with metallic sounding reverbs. So that's always a problem. So you have to kind of trick the reverb or trick the listener by adding other stuff to it to make it sound less metallic. One way is to, for instance, modulate the reverb. We can't do that here, so what do? We can add something on there, like a chorus or something else. But in this case, I wanted the metallic sounding, and what it is I'm using here is a feedback reverb. The feedback reverb sounds amazing because it feeds back into itself, and it's also filtered. And every time something goes round and round, back like into the reverb, out and back in again, that's what a feedback loop is. Then every time it's doing that, this filter is filtering the signal. So the first time it's doing that, the second time it's doing that, the third time it's doing that, and it just keeps going. And in the end, you get a resonant tone in there. And that's the character of the reverb. So in this case, it was perfect because it adds that dissonance I needed for my pads. I just love this thing. Let's just listen to these two things together because they sound great, at least to my ears. It sounds great. And hello and welcome, Klangattentat. I did see your comment there. Wait, I keep it here because I want to see it. And still, anyone who's still listening, you're awesome. You're awesome. Even if you're not typing, you're awesome. I always try to make these videos as if they were podcasts because I know that some people aren't watching, they're just listening. So I try to explain what I'm doing. So let's press stop here. Now, the next thing I'm using here, I've got a Wolfsburg preset because I've got a section where I'm using the Montpelliers to make kind of melodies to respond to some lyrics that I can't show to you today, and I can't play anything to you because I have no way of actually porting my mic in right now because of the way that iOS handles one sound card at a time. I could have connected the other one. Never mind, it doesn't matter. The technical stuff doesn't matter. I can't show you any vocals today, but you know, at some point this will pop up at my main channel when everything is done. So I'm just gonna play it for you. So it's this one, a dark one, the high Montpellier, and then the Wolfsburg. And again, like if you look here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 synthesizers. 2 of them Montpellier, 1 of them Wolfsburg, 1 of them Lisbon, and 1 of them is Lexington, which is such a beautiful synth. It's the ARP Odyssey plugin version for Core Gadget of the ARP Odyssey. Lexington it's called. I love it. It's great. All of them are playing Super Sauce, by the way. All of them. because all of them are great for supersaws. Core Gadget is just bursting with supersaw perfect synthesizers, just straight out of the box. Unison mode, we got you. Detuning mode, oh, we got you too. We got you. We got you good with this. I mean, they put some really funky stuff in. Funky stuff. I'm starting to sound like a promoter from the 70s, I think. So I'm gonna play this together with the Wolfsburg one, and you can hear the leads I made. Woo! Oh, I love that. That Wolfsburg with the filters, it's so snappy. It's so snappy. Just, oh, listen to it. It sounds great. Oh, and remember that female voice thing I talked about in the feedback reverb? Let's listen to this lead line again solo. And maybe you'll hear it now. You should be able to hear it. Can you hear it? There's an overtone just coming after the notes. It's tiny, but it's there, and it's ringing, and it's metallic, and it just adds flavor. I don't have to do anything more with the dissonance. Now, there's one more here. Let's check out the Lisbon one. This one is an arpeggiator, basically. And it's one of those sounds that are so horrible to listen to. Can you hear that? Let's one more time. I want to play this for you one more time. I'm using a bit crusher, and I'm exaggerating the effect. I want you to hear what happens as soon as I turn this off. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? It takes a time for it to really ring out. That's the bit crusher doing its thing on the signal. I don't know if you could hear it, but it's there. It's really low. So this one, it sounds horrible. It doesn't sound nice. But together with everything else, the horribleness of the sound kind of gets filtered out by the other sounds in the mix. And what it does is it cuts through the mix. You see, the Montpellier ones is there to fill it out and make a nice bed for all of the other sounds to kind of bounce around and float around onto, kind of like an ocean, or like air pillows on top of the train that is the bass and the drums. So yeah, it's just there filling it out like a nice quilt, and then these things just start jumping on top of the quilts, basically what they're doing. So if we listen to it in a full sense of the mix, again, start it at the right point. You can hear how that dun 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 dun, it really cuts through. If there is going to be an app version of the OTT plugin, over the top compressor thing, you mean like the real thing, the one on the desktop one? Are you talking about the Ableton one? I'm not sure which one you're talking about right now. Oh yes, your dirty residues in the yes, exactly, dirty residues in the mix. Those artifacts are perfect for cyber. Yeah, they really are. They really are. And many times I've tried to create stuff like this for use with my CyberPunk tracks. But in the case of this one, it just it came naturally from that. And that's the thing. I sit there, I add this thing, and I'm listening through the mix. But how often do you, when you mix, do you stop to listen to your mix, what happens after you stop it? Th- that's the thing. Like, I've started doing that recently, but I never thought about doing it, because why would I ever do that? It keeps going. But it's a good way of hearing other things that's going on in your mix, especially with reverbs and delays, that you can't hear them normally, and they might actually be interfering with your mix, or the way you perceive your mix, and stuff like that. So it's a good thing to do that once in a while, just to listen to all of the effects and everything going on. Mm, mm. Oh, oh my. Oh, why is it so good? I know why it's so good. I know why it's so good. It's good because of all the sugar. I'm addicted. I'm not kidding you, everyone. I'll show you something that I'm ashamed of later on. Sorry, blocked the mic there. Later on, I'll show you something I'm ashamed of, to admit, because I've been trying to live like healthier, stopping with a lot of addiction stuff, pulling down on sugar. I even stopped with this Swedish thing we called snus. I stopped with that. I stopped smoking. I stopped so many things. Yeah, I'm vaping. I know. Uh, but there's so many things I'm stopping, and I'm trying to live really, really healthy, and I'm it's just so hard, and it's hard. It's really, really hard. It's not an excuse. It's not even an explanation. It's it's an excuse. It's an excuse. I just realized that. So let's move on with the track. Now, the next one is Lexington, and I'm using this to create disgusting supersaw sounds. So it's basically this really, really harsh, horrible thing. I wanted it to. What was I doing? I was imagining a T1000 or T800 coming after me, basically. Imagine this. You're taking a bath. Why would you be taking a bath? Okay, you're taking a bath, and then suddenly the wall rips open, and a T800 shows its face in there, all the chrome and everything, because it doesn't have the Schwarzenegger's skin on it. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the Arnold skin. It's just the T800 staring right at you, and now you have to run. And that's what I was thinking about. That's weird. That's so weird. Why? Why? How did that happen? My brain. And so I made this sound, basically. That's a very long build up for nothing. The FX after you stop a DAW was one of the first times I was impressed by them many moons ago. It felt like the thing was alive. You do that. Make sure you do that. Yeah, T800 Terror. And hello, Enrique. I can see you in the chat. Now, the Lexington ARP thing, it's a great synthesizer. I've never reviewed it. I've reviewed the iMonopoly because it felt easier to do that. This one, when it came out, I had never used an ARP Odyssey before. I actually thought I did. I remember me using it. But the more I thought about it, no. It must have been a figment of my imagination. I had never used an ARP Odyssey before. I've never been close to one, I think, even. And so it kind of fell on the wayside, because now I had to really go into it deep, because usually when I find a new synth, I try to look up its history and things like that before I want to review it. And yeah, I've been really hard on myself trying to make really good content for my channel, and it just fell on the wayside. And then new synthesizers come out and I forget about it. But Lexington ARP Odyssey, I mean, is great. It sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds amazing. And the way I can make 6 sounds in this. Now let me turn off the effect chain for this one. I've got a decimator on there, so bit crusher. I've got a saturator and a filter. So without it, it sounds like this. Without it, it sounds like nothing if you aren't playing it. You can still hear that it sounds very sharp, very, very harsh, but it's got more energy in the high frequency band. What I did was I took that edge off. I destroyed it a bit. And now it's still edgy, still edgy. It still sticks through the mix because it needs to. It needs to be haunting. It needs to be horrifying. I do only one, but I mean this, of course. And you can hear how it really pushes through, and you can also hear the metallic reverb. You hear that? There's a very metallic reverb. And it's still... I don't know if you can hear that, but the signal is dying there. There, the signal is dying. Now that's the decimator. That's the bit crusher effect. Now, there is one more plugin left in here, and that's the Chiang Mai one. And I use the Chiang Mai because it's a bell FM. It's an FM synthesizer. It makes bells. Why would I want bells? Why would I want bell sounds for my CyberPunk? Well, bells are good at one thing. They're good at breaking through a mix. And if you fuck them up, they're... Here, let me play it for you. Let me play it for you. You hear that? They sound kind of metallic, kind of destroyed, and that's because I destroyed them. There's a saturator on there, a feedback reverb, a decimator, a reverb, and a delay. And this is here just to give some rhythm texture. Because once again, in this track, I am using minimal amounts of drums. I am using a bass drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat. And so I need more stuff in there. But that's the thing. I don't know if I should say need. It gives me space to let other elements, synthesizers, to perform rhythmical things. Like the bass, for instance. The bass synthesizers. They're also very rhythmical. They've got staccatos in there, and they're basically arpeggiators that do staccato sometimes. And then you have the Chiang Mai one, and the way I've mixed it really low, so it's not really apparent that it's there, but it's doing something to the mix, because you can hear when it's not there and when it is there. Let me demonstrate. And now I'm gonna remove them. Now, some of you might have noticed that I've got the bass mixed really high here. They're basically the main element of the track. And I can't have that once I get my vocals in there, because these basses, they're doing a lot of stuff around 1000 hertz, and that's where your voice is. And especially the low part of your voice, around 400 hertz, you don't want anything interfering with the 400 or 500 hertz and the 1000 hertz, especially not 1000 hertz. Now, here's the thing. I'm doing my cyberpunk thing, and for me, distortion is everything for that. And so my voice is going to be distorted, and when I distort it, I also remove a lot of low frequency information, because that sounds bad through distortion. Especially when you're doing lead distortion. Lead type distortion is the type of distortion that any guitar player or electric guitar player who has ever owned an amplifier and they wanted to create that typical lead sound knows that you just take the amplifier knob and you tweak it to the max, as far as it goes. You just floor it on that one, and then suddenly you have that lead distortion. Now that's what I'm using for my voice, sparingly, mind you, but in this thing, I don't know if I have access to that. I think I do through one of the gadgets. Because recording vocals into this, you have to use a gadget, and you have to record it into that gadget. And I think there is a bass gadget and one for guitar. And I'm probably going to use the one for guitar. Now, here's the thing. I am probably going to pre-filter it through my Steinberg UR interface, because it has an built-in DSP effect processor. Now, that's not going to be helpful for a lot of people wanting to do this with Core Gadget, but I have no other choice. Unless, let's do this. Let's just have a look here, because I can't remember. If we check for audio tracks, can you tell me if it's Rosario or is it Durban? I'm gonna wait by loading this. Jamie Malander, do you use Jamie Malander? Hello and welcome to the stream. Can you dip the frequency you want and boost the harmonics relating to it? I believe that's how producers get bass listenable on phone speakers. Dip the frequencies you want, and what are you referring to now more specifically? Because I talked about a lot of things, and the stream is a bit delayed, so your question is coming in a bit delayed. I can't remember exactly what I was talking about 3 minutes ago, so elaborate on that, and hopefully I can answer you. Just don't put sunglasses too early. Right, I'll keep that in mind. I'm not a genius. I just care about details. That's all it is. The devil is in the detail. Devil is in the detail. Everything is in the details. Everything, literally everything. And without details, my life would be nothing. Absolutely nothing. The details are the things that makes life worth living. You know, everybody can go get like, depending on your social status, but most people can do stuff that other people can do. Okay, not all of it, I know, but I'm talking very general here. We can all do some of the same things, but what makes us different from others when you're a creator is that you have an eye for details. You look for details, you listen to details, and that's how you become whatever you're doing. If you're playing guitar, there's details in a guitar, right? It's not just pick up and play. You think that in the beginning, but then once you start getting into it, really learning, you realize that there are so many details, and you could learn your entire life and you would still not be able to learn all of it. There's always going to be something more you can learn, and every instrument is like that. And not only instruments, production platforms, DAWs, sound editors, no matter what you do, basically everything has details, you know, and there's so much you can do with all of it. If you just have the information, and you need patience to get to the information, and you need to practice. I think that practice is bad, so I always make my stuff feel like it isn't practice. It's more like me doing a project, trying to get to something. And challenge yourself, because once you get comfortable, you're no longer learning, and you're going to think that things are boring, and you're not going to be able to grow. So challenge yourself. As soon as you can, as soon as you feel like you're getting bored or stagnating, or stuff is feeling stale, challenge yourself. Learn something new. Becoming an expert. Sorry, the bass loudness relating to Vox. Okay, so when it comes to bass loudness relating to Vox, now here's the thing. Depending on what type of music you make, I realize now that I didn't finish explaining what I was doing. So I'll answer your question. In my case, where distortion is important, where I'm going to use one of these, either Durban or Rosario, one of them is basically a plugin for, these three are for recording audio into them. They all have effects. And what I need for mine vocals is a distortion pedal and a filter, because I need to filter off bass, and I'm gonna distort it. And that way, when I'm doing that, I'm getting the sound I want, and at the same time, I'm getting two flies with one swat, because at the same time, my voice is gonna be filtered off right around that area where the bass is also residing. So they're not gonna be fighting in the same way. But I am gonna have to dip the frequencies in the bass around 1000 hertz. The problem in my case is that there's a lot of attitude there. So what I usually do is I try to find ways around it. I'll probably write vocals in a way where the bass will have places to do its thing, and then the vocal does its thing, for instance. But if in a production environment, what I usually saw a lot of sound technicians do, and a lot of mixing artists or engineers, they used to use sidechain compression, for instance. They sidechain compressed with multiband compressors. If something was too loud, they put a sidechain compression on there, controlled by the vocals. So when the vocals were loud, it would kind of like push back something else. And it's an art, because if you do it too much, you're gonna notice the lack of energy in one of the elements suddenly as soon as someone starts singing. And with the bass, that can be devastating for your track. So that's something you need to be very, very careful about. Another thing is, you can just go and filter off some stuff around the bass, you know, where the vocals go in. Because it doesn't matter how good a sound sounds. If your bass sounds awesome as it is, but it doesn't fit your mix, then it's useless. And then you need to filter it off. And in the end, the user who listens, the consumer, is not going to know that you did that. They're just going to hear your track. And almost 99% of all consumers, they will listen to the singer first. And then maybe everything else comes after. That's just the way that people are. Apart from people like maybe you watching right now and me, because we're dealing with the music. So we listen to the music first, and then maybe vocals come afterwards. It's different for everybody, but a lot of producers have it like that way. But most people, normal people, normal people, we're not normal people, but most people, regular people, Joes and Marys, they will listen to the lyrics first. I don't know. I hope that answered your question. Hello, Uncle Tom, and welcome to the stream. You're not late before you say that. I hope you didn't, because you're never late, dude. And for those of you riding to work right now, not watching the stream, listening in only, I was just drinking some liquid. The stream didn't disappear. I'm just drinking. So you can cover bad arrangement with singing. yeah, you can. There are so many tricks to this thing, and I'm far from anything even close to a professional when it comes to doing mixing and stuff. And I've always thought that stuff was boring. So when people say, oh, I just produced a track, I gotta mix it, and I listen to my friends' tracks, and I'm like, oh my god, your mix is all over the place. Usually that's not the case with my songs, because I mix them throughout. I'm always thinking about the end of the line. So I always try to balance stuff out. And if I don't, I think that's what's saving me all the time. Then my mastering sessions, even though I'm not really good at mastering, maximizing sessions, I don't know what to call it, but I do tweak stuff with a little bit of EQ, and I saturate and I maximize. Yes, so I do that. Whenever I master stuff, I don't have to put too much time into it because of how I've already thought about all the mixing, like beforehand. I've already done that. My levels look good. If I'll even in the middle of a production put an L2 limiter in the effect slot of the output and just look at the signal. I'll turn around and switch it over so that it keeps all of the data on screen and just keeps collecting it, because there are several ways of running L2 from FabFilter. You can run it so it collects all the data, so you can see after playing a whole track exactly where your loudness peaks are and everything, and that's what I do. And then I look at it, and I keep looking for two things in particular. Energy from vocals, because vocals are very powerful, and will do loads with your track, and it's hard to mix vocals. So whenever vocals come in, you'd be surprised. You think that you've mixed them really low, and then suddenly when you're looking at the L2 maximizing the limiter and look at the actual waveform, you can see that you have this really big fat patch coming from the vocals, and you're like, but I can't hear it properly, but you can see that it's there, and now you need to do something because your vocals and all the frequencies in it is doing something together with something else. And for me, it's usually bass, because I like keeping my bass, the full character of the bass. But like I told you earlier, if it does not fit your mix, then it's useless. There's a book called Guerrilla Home Recording, which talk about mixing as you go, as well as many other great tips. Guerrilla Home Recording. I don't think I've ever read that one. Hello, Joshua, and welcome to the stream. Hey, Dean agrees with me. Exactly that. Thank you, Dean. I mean, Dean is a pro producer. He's established within the industry. I'm talking about you in third person, bro. I hope you don't mind. Dean is as professional as you can get when it comes to producing music, producing sounds, sound engineering, all of that stuff. He's just one of the best. So he knows what he's talking about. And so if he tells me I'm saying some good shit, then it's good shit, which is good. I don't want to spread any misinformation. Also, I can tell you that my most favorite mixing channel on YouTube is Mixbus. Is it called Mixbus TV? It's a big beefy guy. He's got arms. He looks like he could like, if he touched me, he looks scary. If he touched me, I would break into pieces. Big masculine guy, and I love the music that he works with. He works with everything from like dubstep to drum and bass to rock music. It's just on the darker side of everything. That's why I like his channel so much, and he's got some good advices. What's up, Bejamin since birth, BJ? I'm calling you BJ. What's up, BJ? I saw you over at Vortex's stream before. Are you a moderator over there? It looked like you had a moderator logo over at Vortex's stream. I didn't write anything because I was still preparing for this stream. I still can't figure out which of the... I'm just going to load one. I think it's the Rosario one. I'm not going to be using it now, but I have to look at this. This is the guitar effect processor. Okay. So here's what I'm going to have to do, everyone. Normally, I have to... Jakob, always when I look at your projects, then I realize that a whole music studio in a device costs less than one of a real synth. Yes, we do have a full studio. And remember, I've been working like this for, what is it now, 8 years? Almost 10. I've been in mobile production for 10 years, definitely. Not always iOS, it was Android at first back then. But yeah, 8 years been doing this. Ran a blog before that, and then I started up the haQ haQ channel. So I know for sure that I've been running haQ haQ for 6 years. It might be more, but I'm not sure. My memory is really shit. So what I'm gonna explain right now was, what was it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with my vocals here, because there is no real audio channel, but Korg did implement Zurich and Rosario and Durban. So Durban is the bass plugin, so it's a bass pedal with an audio track. Rosario is a guitar effects processor with an audio track. And Rosario is tape machine. Well, yeah, kind of. So what do we have here? But because the most important thing for me is filtering off the bottom end and then distorting it. And the problem is that with these plugins, I cannot change the chains too much of how stuff happens, right? My mic is going to have to go straight into Rosario, get distorted by this thing and whatever cabinets and distortion devices I have in here. And so that's going to happen before I hit the filter. Sure, I have filters here, but that's for the actual chamber for the actual cabinet and distortion, for the actual preamp and everything. And what I need is basically to have my vocals filtered off before it hits distortion, because I don't like it when low rumbling frequencies are hitting the distortion, because what distortion does to it, it smears it out in a not so nice way. Not for me. I've never ever liked that kind of, distortion. Believe me, I had to go into this really, really hard with Agonizer synthesizer. And here's not something I'm gonna tell you that you probably didn't know. Okay, so Agonizer synth, 50% off today, which means it's $10 because it's half price. And there is a new preset pack in there for anyone who doesn't know. Neon Nightmare, CyberPunk, Terrorpunk inspired by me. Sounds awesome. Go check my video on it. Now, the thing is, inside Agonizer, the thing in the mangle section where you have the drive knob, it does something very specific to the sound, because that, my friends, is an effect pedal, okay? It's an effect pedal not meant for bass, even though Agonizer is a bass synthesizer, has always been, is always going to be that. The pedal in there is not a bass pedal. I told Kai to put a guitar pedal in there because I like how they distort better than bass distortion. Bass distortion usually doesn't sound that good to me. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I know that a lot of people will probably hate me for it, but guitar distortion pedals just sound better to me. And so we had to adapt that for Agonizer, which is why, if you listen to that short clip in there, there is a section where it sounds as if a guitar is playing, but it's actually Agonizer, because there is a guitar effect pedal in there, roughing it up. That's what I wanted. I wanted the true punk rock thing in there, which is why we went for the guitar distortion, which is why I'm going for that when I'm doing anything vocals with distortions. Guitar pedal distortions. They just sound really good to me. Sorry for being quiet for a little while here. I'm just trying to catch up. Joe Y just dropped in to say my iPhone is officially agonized. Oh yeah, baby. I played it in Drambo. And how fun is that? Like, you can load AUV3s inside Drambo, and you can build your own little groove box with whatever synth you like. And in the future, with M2, M3, power is going to be amazingly abundant. And so we're going to be able to do loads with our tracks. It's going to be sick. It's going to be sick. It's going to be real sick. And I hope I get to do more plugins in the future. Let's see here. Did I miss anything? But the key and most important tool for mixing and mastering is your ears. Yes, it is. And then there is a whole big discussion you could do about monitors versus people who can't afford that and are mixing in headphones. Here's the thing. If you're mixing in headphones, that is a viable way of doing it if you got a good pair of headphones. It is. It is. That kind of discussion, it used to be so infected in the past, and you weren't able to say that on audio forums and mixing forums, because people would absolutely, they would demote you to dog turds, okay? They would not like that. Nowadays, even this guy that I'm talking about, Mixbus TV, that guy, even he says it's a viable way if you've got a good pair of headphones, good pair of of monitors. And for some people, maybe you can't afford good monitors. I know that there are producers out there in the world today that have music that is published that they made in mono because they could only afford one good monitoring speaker. And so all of it is mono, okay? There are people who have made music and they've only been using their Apple EarPods to mix stuff. Have I ever done that? I'm not telling you. But the thing is, a lot of people won't even notice that. If you have really good ears and if your headphones can really do the entire frequency spectrum justice, then you can do that. So there are many ways of doing it. You can sound treat your room. There are so many ways of doing it. Whatever you're doing, you need to learn to listen to what you have. And you need to know it. And the best way to do that is by playing music by others, especially music you like, and really listening to it through whatever headphone amplifier, whatever you have. You just need to listen to it and learn what it sounds like, so you'll be able to analyze your own music and know what it is you might be doing right or wrong compared to what others are doing. It's always about that, being able to really listen to stuff like that. For a very long time, I was exceptionally bad at mixing because I wasn't listening to other people's music. Most of the music I was listening to came from the 70s. So, yeah, all of my music sounding like it ended up sounding as if I was mixing it in the 70s. What's up, iOS Traycon? I hope you're doing good. SPL Ground Sound Music, welcome to the stream. Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for showing up. I'm having a great day today. Hello, Mike Lucas, and welcome to you too. So this is what I'm most scared of: recording my vocals into Core Gadget, because I'm not sure. And to be really honest with you, it might actually end up being me doing the full music project and everything in here, and then exporting the stems from here and moving it over into Cubase's to record the vocals. That might actually happen if I just can't solve this thing. I really don't like that I can't filter my stuff up. The reason to why I'm so reluctant, because like I said, I'm using a Steinberg UR816 sound interface. It has a DSP processor. You can put effects right on your channels. I could just filter off whatever I want before the microphone audio even hits Gadget, which is mwah, I love that. But other people can't do that. And I want this Gadget series, whenever it goes up, to be something that anyone can take part of. And it kind of feels a bit shitty in that case to say, hey, I used my $600 sound interface to do this thing. What do you do? Or, hey, I ended up just doing the rest of it in Cubase's. So I'm going to have to make this work somehow. I'm going to have to make it work. Hello, Dimitri. What's up? I hope you're doing good. I'm checking the Neo Nightmare pack right now, and it's so huge. Thank you. I worked really hard on that. Kai worked really hard on the bug fixes. We fixed a lot of weird bugs where we had a keyboard pop-up that popped up and over the actual plugin, so the vobulator kind of got like hidden underneath. We had that problem. That's supposed to be fixed now. Okay, we've tested it. It's supposed to be fixed. There were a weird sustain pedal problem that we fixed. There was some other weird visual problems that we fixed. Truth is that there weren't that many Agonizer bugs from the beginning, because both me and Kai was so adamant at not putting it out before it was really ready. And still we had some visual bugs that we did not detect simply because we did not have the devices to test it on. So we didn't know. So it's not that easy. And now we do have the devices to test on. Now we do. Yeah, now we do. So he's even purchased some older iPhones and stuff, because we had to test Agonizer iPhone version on a lot of iPhones to just see that it was doing the right thing, because Apple devices, they're turning into what Android was a little time ago. There's too many different resolutions and stuff, and yeah, depending on how you code stuff, that's something you might have to think about. I never use Drambo standalone. You prefer AU? Yeah, me, I prefer standalone when it comes to Drambo, when it comes to Pure Acid, when it comes to stuff like Core Gadget. I would never want to use Core Gadget as an AUV3, for instance. I don't think many would, but I'm sure that there's a lot of people that would love to use their stuff as AUV3s. Would be awesome, right? Yeah, I agree, it would be awesome. And a lot of people are still hoping. I'm one of them. I'm right there with you. I'm in your corner. I'm rooting for this. I want them to do AUV3s of their gadgets. It's cool that you can use, if you're using Gadget on desktop, you can use stuff as VSTs. That's awesome. Why not on iOS? Why not on iOS? Come on, give us that on iOS. Hello, Sir Jason. Hello, and thanks for the update. The new presets are, for the most part, sounds I try to dial in. Sounds I use or try to dial in. Well, that's nice to hear. Thank you. And I'm happy that there are so many people wanting to use Agonizer since it is such a specific app. We were afraid that not enough people would buy it to make it worth it because of how specific it is. But both of us decided that, well, I kind of nagged on, like, it's not bad making specific things. A big problem on the App Store and any store where you buy anything is that many times developers try to do as much as possible, making everything possible. That's not good. Or make it as bread and butter as possible. You know, it's good when you need that, but you have to dare to be specific sometimes to make something, kind of new. And that's what Agonizer is. Teddy Leopard, thanks for the new presets. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And like I said in my video, whenever there's a sale, that preset pack is always going to be free. So whenever there's a sale, it will be free. On other days, when there's no sales, Agonizer goes back from half price, from $10 up to 20, and the preset pack will be $2.99. But yeah, it's free during sales. Whoops. We just thought it made sense to do it that way. Makes sense, kind of like Mononoke is specific to your to tear your ears apart. Tear your arse apart. What accent is that? I also am not feeling AUM for the same reason. It doesn't have an internal piano roll sequencer. I get that. In the case of Core Gadget, it has most of the things that I need, and it's such a good, inspiring piece of software. I love to use this thing. I haven't used it in a while, and I can't tell you why. I don't know. I've been using Cubasis, and the Steinberg people have been doing so many nice upgrades for it. I'm so happy that we're at this point with Cubasis. Right now, there are only two things that I wish that they would upgrade it with, that we've been asking for forever since it came out, and that is tempo tracks. I don't care about tempo tracks, but I know that there's so many people who care about tempo tracks, so I want them to implement it. I want it for all of those people that want that. And the second thing, what was that? The second thing is, give me some fade slopes like Cubase has. I want to be able to do specific slopes for my fades. I don't want linear fades. Before I used Cubasis, I never used linear fades. All of my fades were always logarithmic or what's the other curve called? Parabolic. SPL. Shouldn't have a sequencer because it's a mixer. I mean, in the case of AUM, I think that the best case would be to design a completely new app that is based around sequencing with the kind of thing that AUM has. There have been many others that tried. One of them is ModStep, for instance. You have a mixer, but it's really a sequencer, right? That's what it is. So if you would design something like that where the interface is really intuitive, then you have another winner again, because now you have an AUM with a proper mixer in it, proper sequencer in it. I don't think it makes sense to try to change AUM as it is. I would, if I was Jonathan or Jonathan, like his name is in Swedish, I would build something new, AUM sequencer, you know. Have you considered Aria Pro? Oh, yeah. Every time everyone asks me about Aria Pro, I always feel sad because I'm gonna end up making someone depressed, and probably you. The reason to why it never worked with me with Aria Pro is, or Aria for that, it doesn't matter which version I use. I have them, and I can't use them, and I've tried year after year, and I've talked about this many times before. I think there are like hour-long rants back in the days when I used to do live streams on my other channel. I stopped doing that on my main channel in 2018, but I'm ranting about how I'm not able to do it. I go back every year and I sit down and I try to use Aria, and it's the interface that just bothers me so much that I can't, and I end up not being able to use it. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with it other than me not being able to use it, because it's an awesome mixing console. That's what it is, right? It's a mixing console built with a sequencing thing in it, and Pro brought in MIDI, which is awesome. And then you had access to all the FabFilter stuff. And this is why I kept going back to it. But as soon as FabFilter put out their stuff, as soon as they did not have to just keep it in Aria, as soon as I started putting it out as AUV3s, I stopped dreaming of Aria because I just couldn't befriend the interface. So for anyone using Aria, I get why you do it. It's so capable. It's extremely powerful. It's like a true mixing console. But it's not for me. It doesn't work for me because of the interface. There's something wrong with it. It's cluttery. It's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't work for me. So I hope that doesn't piss you off. And even if you are pissed, I'll allow it. I don't I don't care if people are pissed at me, for not liking something, but I mostly use iPad for sketching. I love the envelope design on FRMS. Hey, hello Mitch, Audio Dabbler. I didn't see you pop in there. By the way, can I just ask you guys in the chat, are you hearing a fan right now? You're not hearing it, right? I hope not. Okay, I've got a remote control here for my fan. So basically the fan is running a pulsing mode, and I'm always afraid that it's gonna, blow on the microphone. I don't think it is doing that because it's pulsing. It feels like I have a cool breeze in here. We're all we're all fans. Have y'all never ever noticed that I refuse to call you fans? Because someone told me some time ago, I can't remember who it was, no, don't ever call your viewers fans because it might piss some people off. And that stuck with me. And so I never done that. I don't think of people watching my show, liking my show as fans. I have learned to think of everyone as viewers. It's weird. I mean, that's what people are when you're viewing it. I'm a viewer when I view stuff, right? But yeah, someone told that to me. I don't know why though. I'm not sure. I'm not a marketing expert. I don't know how that works. I see people call their fans all the time, but yeah, I'm weird. I never got an answer for that. I hear my MacBook Pro. Yeah, I can hear my MacBook Pro fan too. We're fans, we're viewers. Using the term fans helps massage the ego. Ah, okay. Maybe it's like something like that. Well, I have an ego, but I don't want to massage it in that way. So what would be the next step here, really, talking about? We talked about and went through the track here, what I've done so far. At this point, I'm just trying to build a track layout, with an intro and stuff, and a build up to things in here. And I gotta like I'm not too sure how I want to do it, but I'll be keeping on working on it as my lyrics progress, because I'm kind of writing the lyrics along with the song. I'm a producer, so that's what I do. I'm not a singer songwriter, so I don't sit and write the song and fit that into something. I kind of make an entire thing. It's like, yeah, it's like building a house or something. First you lay a foundation, and singing and lyrics is just a part of it, just like bass for me, or drums. And so yeah, It doesn't take a back seat, it doesn't take a front row, it's just as important or unimportant as everything else, and I build it along together. That's how I've done most of my tracks when there's lyrics in them, apart from one album, and that is the Mellow album. There aren't any lyrics to it, but there are, because it's a poem, and the poem is in the titles. I'm not a fan of fans. My 2014 slowly dying. Your track needs a female vocal. Have your partner do it if she's willing. Yeah, no. No, the female vocals are always going to be the robot voice. That's what I'm doing. I have a female. You've heard her. You heard her in the last track I did. So that's the female vocal right there. And at some point, I'm gonna make her do some weird, messed up singing and stuff. I'm trying out some vocals apps and seeing what I can do with it. Still think Photon Wall's a pretty great tune. Thank you so much, Uncle Tom. I was very happy with that one. But that's the same thing. I was building those, kind of together, the lyrics and everything. Even though, as usual, the melody for that one started in figure. Same with this. This started in figure. Go figure. What can I tell you? That's literally what I do. I start stuff in figure all the time. Has been the most useful tool I've ever owned. And like Max Quantum says, Max Quantum. I've probably said this in every stream when I see Max Quantum in the chat, but every time I see that, I'm thinking about the name Max Power. That Homer Simpson names himself that, and then crazy things happens. I kind of miss The Simpsons. I haven't seen an episode in ages. Yeah. I wonder if it's streaming anywhere where I can get at it. Have you considered subtle use of the TB303 sounds to glue tracks together? Not precisely, but I am using, not gluing entire sounds, like the entire soundscape of a track. I use TB303 like sounds to glue bass together, like I'm doing here, for instance. And in the one track that I did with the Unosynth, I'm basically using a line in there that is like a TB303 line for some of it, and that's also layered, So, yeah, I'm gluing stuff together sometimes to do that. Yeah, I do. And whenever I do things like that, I kind of filter off the bass part or the sub part, but never thought of it as something that would glue the entire track together. You should experiment with it. Or maybe you are. Maybe that's why you're asking me. I am a Nano Studio fan. I used the first one for a really long time. I used Nano Studio 2 on iPhone and iPad a bit, but AUM and Ape Matrix definitely took over for me. It is like that, huh? That's interesting, because it's a very different way of working, Enrique. AUM is so specific. Ape Matrix too. They're very different workflow. So you found what you were looking for. That's interesting. But I can also say that Nano Studio is a great sequencer, and I wish it had audio tracks, because it would probably become like the DAW for a lot of people, because the effects in there are stellar. Oh man, what a job he did. What a job he did. Oh my god, he's done such a great job on all the effects in there, the reverbs, the delays, the ensemble choruses, the flangers, the phasers, the saturation, distortion, the compressor, the sidechaining, how that works and sounds, the equalizers, the filters. Those are just the effects, right? Those are just the processors. And then the slate machine and the way you can work with that. It's a great MPC on its own. And then the synthesizer that I did a 40-minute video about, because of how deep it is, and I only feel like I scratched the surface with that video, because there's so much more to show. Nano Studio 2 is a masterpiece. It's a true masterpiece. And a big reason to why a lot of people don't get it is because it doesn't have audio tracks, which is a shame. Think about it. There was another app that had the same problem. This one. Core Gadget. Core Gadget. And then they added audio plugins. It's not the best way of working. It works. It's not the best way of working, but it works. So they did that. It's still not going to become like a DAW because it's very clear what they want it to be. They want it to be a sequencing app. And for that, it does it really well. And I love that. For Nano Studio, it's also a great sequencer app, but it's also got one of the most nicest piano rolls to work with because it's very responsive in a certain way, and I like the way that it puts up lines and show you exactly where you put in your notes, so I never feel like my finger or my hand is in the way. I see what I am all the time. It feels like the sequencer is kind of open to me, so it's very different working with Nano Studio. BJ says Nano gotta add audio. Yeah, I'm hoping that they're doing that. I'm hoping. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard if no one is buying the app, and since he doesn't do apps as a main thing, he also has a job. It's kind of impossible for him to go on if he can't justify it for making money from the apps. If he can't do that, then he has to focus on his job. So basically, he was spending 6 years making Nano Studio 2 whenever he had free time over, and you can imagine what that does to you, especially if you have a family. You know, if the only time you can work with it, it's on a free time, and then 6 years go, and you don't end up making the sales that you need in order to make it worth it, then there's no reason to keep on going. That's what I'm afraid might happen, that maybe it just doesn't work for him. We've talked about this before. A lot of people angry at him not doing it, but I understand it completely. If it was me, why would I do it if I can't sell more? Because he can't even be sure that people will buy it. The hype is over. You know, the hype is over. He doesn't have the hype helping him if he puts it out and he puts the time in to do the audio tracks. I don't know what it would take for him to do that. I suggested that he would take, for instance, Obsidian and pluck it out and make an AV3 of that. Pluck out the slate, make an AV3. Pluck out the effects processors, make AV3s, because that would make him money. I would promote that. These things sound great. Some of the saturation and stuff, they have a sound to them that kind of, like, for me, it feels a bit like FabFilter. So they're great stuff. He would be able to make money from that. But if he doesn't have the time, then he doesn't have the time. It's sad. I love Nano Studio, and I love Matt Borstel. I love the guy because he's a genius. He's a genius. What he did with Nano Studio 2 is just, it's just great. Now you can use AUM to make your perfect groove box. Yes, you can. We have too many options right now, everyone, okay? For me, I finally have Cubasis almost at the point where I want it, and I've been able to produce with Cubasis even without all the extra stuff that we have now. It's just that now it's like if you're into games and game development and stuff, what they've been doing with Cubasis feels like quality of life improvements, and it's really improving the quality of life in the game of Cubasis. I just absolutely love it. So that's great. Even if we had to wait for it for 6 years, I was still working with it. I don't know how many times online I've seen people, you can't do this, or without that this is useless and stuff. And instead of thinking like that, this is useless, what can you do to fix it, or what can you do to work around it? How much do you want this? Do you want to sit here and please don't kill me, internet, please don't cancel me. Do you want to sit here and whine about it all day long, or are you going to do something about it? Like, okay, so you can't do this thing with this thing here yet, so what can you do in the meantime? this is what kept driving me making new videos all the time. The first 2 years are full with videos of me talking with a really weird accent, by the way. Don't go watch those. Don't go watch it. They're dog shit, okay? But it's me just trying to solve problems, finding new ways of using apps in a certain way, finding workarounds. In the beginning, we couldn't even send files between apps. That wasn't a normal thing. Back in the day, having opening command, that's something we had to see Apple add. Now suddenly, oh, you have opening command. Oh, this app doesn't support it. How can I do it? Well, it turns out that this app supports that. So you open this one in here. Now I send the file in here. And if I zip this in this program, I'm now able to send this file to this program and unzip it. And now I have this file in this app. Like, it's a stupid workaround. It's wasting time, but I was able to do it. And so there were so many things I had to do that I don't have to do today, because today we have the files system, we have audio share. As soon as audio share came, that was amazing, but it took some time before apps were actually supporting audio share in order to be able to open up files directly from audio share. That became the main thing later on. Even like something like the Launchpad app, Launchpad app ended up supporting audio sharing, being able to move files from that. I mean, there's so many things that we take for granted today that we didn't in the past. And if we had people coming onto the platform today and an app didn't support the file system, which happens sometimes, people are going to say, oh, it's useless. Well, back in the day, we had to sometimes send files through 4 apps in order to get it to the right app, or go and connect our stupid iDevices to a MacBook or a PC with a really horrible piece of software from Apple that just messed up everything, and get the files in that way. But we still did it. Some of us did. Some complained, but some of us solved the problem, and then we kept on working. So that's the thing. Like, just find a solution sometimes. With Nano Studio 2, what's the solution for audio tracks? Back when Core Gadget did not have these gadgets where you can record the Rosario and the what is it called? What is it called? Come on, what is it called? Show me. The audio track. Back when it didn't have Zurich, Rosario, or Durban, I had to do an episode about getting vocals into Core Gadget. How did I solve it? I cut up my vocals in another app, and then I loaded them in not Abu Dhabi but Bilbao, and I triggered my vocal samples through there, and there is a track produced with vocals in it entirely inside Core Gadget, where my vocals were recorded somewhere else, and then I put them into a sample player, basically. So that's one way I was doing it. It's not fun. It can even be it can kill your flow. But remember what I said a few streams ago about trying to solve problems. Whenever I'm solving problems, I keep moving. I feel happy. If I don't have problems to solve, I start feeling like I'm stagnating, like I'm standing still, like I have no drive. Well, that's the thing. This is what kept me driving along with my audience at the beginning when I ran my channel. The first years is I had problems to solve, not only for myself, for everyone, people wanting to do stuff, me showing how to do that, finding a way of doing that. I still get that sometimes, but a lot of the problems we used to have, like just sharing files, such a simple thing done on any computer. We've been able to do it for 30 years, sharing files through different medias, on cassette tapes, on diskettes, on floppy drives, on 5.2 inch floppy drives. 5 inch, that sounds big. You know what I mean, those paper drives, for the old computers. And then suddenly coming over to a 20th century device like the iPhone, and not being able to do that, not having access to your file system. That was insane. And somehow, a lot of us, we kept going with it. And now we don't have that problem anymore. I think it's interesting. I've been going on and on about this. How many people have I lost? How many people have I lost? By the by time you buy 10 apps to do one thing, I would just buy a computer. BJ, I've had people ask me so many times. What is this? Like why come oh it's not, it's blocked. Like why come to a community just to shit on what they do? I don't think that BJ is shitting on us. I mean, it's easy to get riled up over this. Don't let this ruin the nice chat we're having. We are all allowed to have different opinions about everything. And, I'm okay with that. That's okay. And for some people, that is flow ruining. If you have to actually do these extra steps in order to get to the result, that can ruin your flow completely. I know what that's like. I've always tried to find ways of going straight to the point. But for me personally, when I started doing that and once I got comfortable, I stopped being creative. So for me, it doesn't work. For others, it has to be the other way around. It has to be less cumbersome to do simple things. For me, it was eye opening. For me, it was a way of getting that stupid ADHD brain to keep on working. But for some people, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. And we are never going to understand each other completely whenever we like something and someone else doesn't like anything. But we should fucking be okay with that. We should be good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And if it turns out that someone thinks that something I like is shit, I don't care. It doesn't bother me one bit. It doesn't. It doesn't. And it shouldn't bother you either. It doesn't even touch upon what you're doing. Really? I mean, we're just gonna keep on doing what the fuck we want anyway. We're just gonna keep pushing forward like a train. Even if the other side is saying that maybe we're stupid for doing it. And you know what? They might be right. They might be right. And we just might not be, we might be too proud enough to admit it. I can admit to being too proud, but my way is still better than sliced bread, so it doesn't matter. In the end, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We do what we want, when we want, how we want it. And that's how we create our stuff. I think that's the gist of it, being creative, right? Like, we've always walked towards the stream or against the stream, walking against the stream, like that one person in a yellow jacket walking against everyone else on Manhattan during rush hour when everyone with their briefcases, hats, and jackets on, gray jackets, there's this one person in a yellow coat just walking the other way. That's us. No matter what, doesn't matter which side we're on, that's just who we are. So never be afraid to invite someone in a chat who might be feeling different to us, and make sure we don't make them feel completely unwelcome, because it is interesting to have opinions from the other side too. I kind of like that, and it's made me think differently many times. I don't know if anyone remember it, but I've had some collaborations with some people where I've thought one thing at first, and during a live stream I've said clearly I would never do something, and then that person just explained something for 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, wait, you changed my mind, I want to try this out now. That happens to me because I'm afraid of losing, of missing opportunities of doing something because I'm being close-minded or something like that. So don't hack it down to bits if it shows up and it might not be looking like the way you want it to look. Does that sound weird? It sounds like I'm describing a little monster or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Calm down, everyone. We're getting into capital letters. Yes, calm down. Stop getting into capital letters. What does the? Oh yeah, you mean you mean big letters. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. Capital letters. It sounded like a thing, like a phrase, like something that is. Always know that I want people to feel welcome in the chat, and unless people are going down into name calling and doing that kind of shit to each other, that's not something I would never ever allow. If people start calling each other's names and act like fucking dicks, I'll ban you for life. I don't give a fuck. So just be nice to each other and be open, and it's okay to be a bit riled up, and fired up, because we're passionate, and we're passion people. We're passion driven. We're driven by our passion. It's what making us going into things that normal people don't want to go into. I mean, that's what we do. So we should invite that. Discourse is good. It's good. It's fucking good. I like that electronic sounds. Be kind, bitches. I'll allow that. That's okay. Yeah, I don't think that BJ is hating on anyone either. I don't think that. It's very easy to think that about people as soon as someone comes in and criticizes something. But remember that not always are people wanting that, and I know that I talked about it in my last stream, being a bit weird and different than anyone else, being a person that just says what I think straight out there to people's faces, and that hurts people sometime. And I had to learn the hard way that sometimes I need to hold back on what I'm saying or how I'm saying it to people. Because here's the thing too. If you have something that you feel is important to say to someone, then of course you do want them to listen. You might tell them that you don't care what they don't think about you, but on some level we all do. Well, otherwise we wouldn't say anything to anyone. So stop with that, okay? We do care, and sometimes the way we say it can actually make it hard for people to listen to us, to want to listen to us. If I'm being a dick towards someone, it doesn't matter how right I am, people aren't going to respect my opinion anyway, or what I'm saying. And that's happened to me plenty of times. Me being a complete dick and a douchebag, and people not listening to me, even though in the end I was right. That might happen, because we're not logical all the time, people, I've had that happen, me stopping listening to someone just because they were being a dick. That happens. So if you do have something to say that is important, and you deep down know that maybe sometimes you do say stuff a bit harsh, instead of saying, yeah, I know I sound harsh, but that's just the way I am, stop, think before you speak, and then try to say it in a way that won't enrage people or disturb them in some way, because you'll be surprised how often people actually want to listen to you when you're not being a dick. I'm only talking from my own experience here. I have a lot of experience of being a dick. Dick, 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 dick. That's me, Mr. Dick. They call me Mr. Dick. They don't call me Mr. Dick. Don't call me Mr. Dick. If anyone calls me Mr. Dick, I'll ban them. So stop. Don't do that. Now, I'm trying to get off this topic and go into another topic, but I'm uncertain how long we've streamed for here, so I just gotta make a little check. And it does look like, oh, we've been streaming for what? Really? Time just flew by. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm a pyramidiot. Pyramidiot. I don't even know what that is. So, are we good, chat? Are we good, everyone? I hope we're all good. I hope we are all good in the chat. Okay? I hope we're all good with each other. We don't hate each other. We love each other. We love each other for our differences. It's our differences that makes us interesting. For fuck's sake, come on. Y'all know this. Everybody knows this. What makes us different is interesting. That's why I love my partner so much. She's very different. I don't understand her half of the time. Half of the time she does shit that don't even make sense to me. I have to really stand there and think, watching her do something, and wondering to myself, why in the world would she ever do this? I don't understand. It's why I love her, because she's not like me. It's different. We're good. Good. Now, I'm about to round this up, and I'm hoping to see y'all next Wednesday during the next stream. I hope y'all think that this was interesting. I want to do more music streams. Instead of doing streams all the time where the topic is kind of a bit floaty in the air like it has been the last 2 or 3 streams, just to keep it on track. Because explaining and breaking down stuff all the time, I can do that in my sleep, and I want to do that in my sleep. I want to do that. I don't want to do that in my sleep, but I want to do it. I want to do it during streams. All right. Would you watch if I was streaming when I was sleeping? I've seen some RL, God. I've seen some IRL streamers stream themselves when they're sleeping. I don't get it, but there's actually people watching them. Why? See, I don't understand it, but I don't hate it. Old people also tend to be overamped about little things. NS2 has some amazing drums. Yes, it does. So when it comes to the Obsidian is upsampler, great at that, so it's better than the Slate. Chopping or working with samples is Obsidian. Oh, you like working with Obsidian more than Slate? That's interesting. ASMR, Jacob sleep. Okay, I'm not gonna do sleeping streams. I'm not gonna do sleeper streams. But what I am gonna do today is, here's what you don't know. A little while ago, I told you I was gonna go on a vacation. Do you think that happened? No. And I'll tell you why. I had 5 videos prepared, and then LumaFusion crashed. You might know that from I'm Happy stream, okay? I lost a lot. I was able to save a little bit of it. The Agonizer video was one, and I have another video coming that I had to remake, and then I had to make a new one. And now I'm at a point again where I have to start over. So my vacation still hasn't come. I worked harder than ever to get my stuff done, and I lost a lot of it while my partner was away visiting her mom during her vacation. Her vacation is over now. She went back to work basically, but me, I never got it. So I haven't had it yet. I'm gonna try to get it in another 2 or 3 weeks, and until then I'm gonna be working hard on making some new videos for the main channel, and we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I'll be able to back up stuff in time, so that I won't have to redo all of it again. Me and my partner are also looking at dates to go into town and start recording the video material for some of the stuff that I want to show you in town and regarding music and stuff like that. So that's going to be an interesting continuation of the mobile music, outdoors series. So we got stuff planned, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if you haven't checked the latest video on my channel about Agonizer, if you know nothing about it, go check it out. Just go check it out. And if you haven't got Agonizer, 50% off, preset pack free during the sale. And until next time, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it. Now this is the part where the stream has ended, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself, because I have enjoyed myself a lot, actually. I've had a lot of fun today, but the problem is that I realized that I've been just talking and talking. I've been missing it, bits and pieces in the chat. So for those of you who are listening still and you're not writing in chat, have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and thank you for listening in. You'll be hearing me next week. Yeah, take care, everyone. I'll just pack it up. I didn't troll you last time. My partner came home. We were streaming for 2.5 hours, and stuff just ended up. I'm not saving anything now because I'm afraid that I did any changes in here. We'll just see. I hope you like the track, by the way, and I hope you like the result, because it's gonna be amazing. And yeah, I just really like it. I really love this cyberpunk and punkish thing, and even if cyberpunk goes out of popularity, I'll still be doing some similar stuff, but maybe not call it cyberpunk, maybe something else. But yeah, this is really a genre I burn for. This and the mellow sound. That's what I burn for. And they're so completely different from one another. It's just night and day, really. But yeah, it's interesting how it can be so different. The track was great. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Hasta la vista, baby. And remember to I was gonna do a quote here from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I forgot what to say. Thank you for the fish. uh, how do you cure a depressed robot? By the way, I've thought about that. There's this one line that keeps cells interlocked. Cells interlocked. I actually loved the new Blade Runner movie. I know a lot of people hated it, but I think that Ryan Gosling did a great role in there. I liked him as an android, really do. And there was so much in there that was just, I mean, the amazing huge stripper models in the desert kind of remind me of a game, Fallout New Vegas. It just looks so awesome. The environments and all of the graphics, the story was just, it felt, all of it really felt Blade Runner. I really liked it. I do understand that some people hated it and some people will think that I'm absolutely stupid for thinking it's good, but for me it was amazing. Amazing. Cells interlocked. Cells upon cells upon cells interlocked. Loved it. Marvin was actually the computer who worked out the answer. It So long and thanks for all the fish. There we go. There it is. So long and thanks. So we do have some Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy fans in here. Douglas Adams was a genius. Yes. Yes, an absolute genius. Now, unfortunately, I have to go. So take care, and until next time.